Question 5 asks the Minister if he intends including the Western Rail Corridor from Athenry to Claremorris as a project in the forthcoming revised National Development Plan. And 71 asks him to list the rail projects in Connacht in the present National Development Plan. So you might answer those two questions, Minister. I look forward to your reply.
Thank you very much
indeed. I do hope to take questions 5 and 721 together. As the Deputy knows, the National Development Plan is under review and discussions are ongoing in relation to finalising the review and agreeing a new NDP. It's important at this stage, to the outset, that my approach to this review is being based around the sort of outcomes I want to see this NDP deliver. I would like to set the groundwork for a fundamental change in the nature of Transport Ireland as committed to in the programme for government. We want to see the NDP support the investment needed to support the national planning framework, particularly in terms of supporting balanced regional development and supporting compact growth in the 5 cities. And finally, my view is that this NDP needs to set us on our way to reduce emissions in line with our 2030 and 2050 net zero commitments. Our ability to deliver on those outcomes will be determined by the allocations we receive as part of the review, but my approach to the review has been framed by these considerations. The Deputy knows I believe in the potential of rail infrastructure and services. I believe that potential is not currently realised and we can do better. That's why I've broadened the terms of reference to what was a proposed high-speed study between Dublin, Belfast and Cork, so that it's now an all-Ireland strategic rail review. This review will be conducted in cooperation with our colleagues in the Northern Ireland Executive and will examine all aspects of interurban and interregional rail. It will set the type of strategic backdrop to rail investment in our regions and on our mainline network that the recent Jaspers review of the Western Rail Corridor noted was lacking. We need this type of strategic analysis to inform our consideration of specific projects, and I very much look forward to its completion next year and implementing its recommendations in the coming years, supported by the new NDP. In the meantime, there's a number of projects already underway which will continue to be supported, such as the redevelopment of the Can Station and a new platform at Oranmore, and improved protection and renewal of the network across the region generally, thanks to the increased allocations under the IMAC programme.
Éamon Ó Cuív.
I really thank you for the reply. And so what we're getting is renewal and just mentions of what's there. Well, okay, we presumed that that would happen. So we're getting a few platforms in Can Station and a passing loop in Oranmore. Not much for the whole of Connacht. I think that's the first thing that has to be said. Now, you mentioned there in your previous reply the concept of renewing existing infrastructure. This scores very high on that one. Cost certainty, absolutely huge here, because the big variables are taken out of this one because in an existing railway line you have the alignment. Emissions, it scores very highly there. Minister, would it ease your problem somewhat if we were to seek funding in the West from the Regional Rural Development Fund to co-fund this and potentially also look for Clár funding, as most of the railway line is in the Clár area? And if that were to be made available to reduce the net cost to your department, do you think that that would ease the challenge for you in getting this no-brainer project off the ground at last? Now, it's great to have a whole lot of platforms in Can Station, but the thing you really need on them is trains coming in from 3 directions, not 2, to fill the platform.
I'd say the first priority as well would be, I don't know if I'm sure you'd agree with this, the twin tracking from Athenry to Galway, because that gives also potential development to increase that transport-led development, the development around Oranmore and new areas in Galway. And down the line, when the Western Rail Corridor is reopened, it gives greater possibilities to run services in. So I think first things first, it will be the twin tracking from Athenry into Galway to serve Can Station, but also other stations on the route. The wider use of the Western Rail Corridor goes back to what we've been talking about, it being a service which will run from Waterford effectively right the way up the Waterford-Limerick line, Limerick Junction, and from there right the way up to Ballina. And it's that section as part of it, the link is how this has to be seen. So it has to be seen It's not just a Connacht issue, it is a whole west of Ireland and the whole, particularly freight as well as passenger services on that arc, or that Atlantic rail corridor, you might call it. I think that's how we have to see it. I would love to take money from the CLAR programme or any other programme which could help the funding on this, because in truth, the big challenge we're going to have is funding. We've just heard Navan, Meath making a very valid case for funding for what is a significant project. We've just heard, same from Wicklow. Every part of the country, Limerick is critical in my mind. The example of the cost, just to upgrade the road from Westport to Castlebar, cost $250 million. Just that upgrade of an existing. So if you think of the scale of what we're spending here, that's the challenge we have.
Thank you.
The good thing about this, of course, that this project will cost a lot less, depending on who you believe, the Bradley report or the original report from Ernst & Young. But between 150 and we'll even go to the outer limit 200, a lot less than the road from Castlebar to Westport. Minister, there's €1 billion in the regional, the RRDF. Would it change your attitude if that was making a contribution to this project? It's a straight question. And the second thing is, I'll answer your question about doubling the line. By putting in the passing loop, which is already agreed, in Ormore, the frequencies of train can come down to a quarter of an hour. That is sufficient for the moment until we build up the critical number of trains coming in. So I would put it the other way around. Let's do Athenry to Claremorris first. And then, when the line can no longer, with the new passing loop in Ormore, carry the number of trains coming in from the various directions, we can double the line. And I think you're putting the cart before the horse. Minister, if money was available, we say 30, 70, 30% from sources of funding other than your department, would you be willing to let this project go ahead? And as you say, it's an inter-provincial project. Of course it is. We understand the geography of the thing. Would you be willing to let this project go ahead and stop the constant putting it into study after study after study and just do it? It, as you said yourself, it's only renewing existing infrastructure.
Minister, to conclude.
It is existing infrastructure that would require a fair bit of upgrade. Like we'd have to cross the N17 again, and yes, it's an existing line, but we all know, looking at the line in real close detail, it would require fair investment to bring it back to good quality status. But it also, I keep coming back to, I don't think we can look at it on its own. We also have to reintroduce the rail line to Foynes at the same time, because that then, you see the Western Rail Corridor in the context of it having access to deep sea port with rail freight access right down to the quayside there. So it isn't just about the section from Athenry to Claremorris, it is part of the wider. And in truth, if you look at the line from Waterford to Limerick Junction, and I think we're also going to have to twin track from Limerick Junction to Limerick City. If you look at each one individual one of those decisions on their own, you don't get the wider strategic potential of having a true Western Rail Corridor which runs right the way up the west coast, from southeast right the way up through to the northwest. And so I think it has to be part of that strategic overall vision. And the strategic rail review, I know there's been a lot of reviews done here and it's been very frustrating, but the part of the problem is that people have always been looking at it in pieces, not the overall picture. And the overall picture is the better way to look at this, and that'll draw the funding.
We're over time. Thank you.